we're going to talk about a few things. But one in particular, we're going to talk about a revolution. And some of you may be saying, this guy right here has lost his mind. No, I like to read a lot. I like to watch things, sit back, observe. I think that's the best way to get a feel for things, is to do your own research, to just kind of get into it, just to see where things are headed to. Well, as I sit back and I watch, I participate, I try to get a feel for things, I am watching before my very eyes a revolution take place. You may be saying, well, no, bro, that can't be true. No, bro, you losing it. No, I'm not. Greetings, greetings. I am watching a revolution take place before my very eyes. And I was saying to myself, either I can participate in this revolution, or I can close my eyes and play as if I don't see anything that is taking place. Just to share with you a few points of views. And I know everybody is not going to always agree, but we can agree to disagree. I've heard people claim and say that the reason black people are having such a hard time is because of the black on black crime. You know, if black people would only stop killing each other, things would be and get better. Well, if you're a study of history, if you know anything about history, if you know anything about what has transpired in these Americas, you will know that that is a lie. People have always been killing people, those who are close to them. So even if black Americans, African American, Negroes stopped killing each other, others would not stop hunting and killing you. I've often said, and I will continue to say, when you know who you are, things do get a little bit better, because then you are able to move in a different direction. I hear people often talk about black lives don't matter. Well, I'm black and they matter to me. The atmosphere for which we find ourselves living in is one that reminds me of my childhood. And you may be asking, well, what do you mean your childhood? Well, you know what? I grew up in the late 60s and 70s, and early 70s. That was my childhood. And I can remember a time not long ago, we're talking about maybe 50 years ago, where my grandmother who worked as a clerk in a restaurant, and as a cook in a restaurant, and I used to go and visit her, and she would tell me, no, baby, you can't sit here. You have to eat your food at the back door. Now, mind you, that is only about 50 years ago. And you're probably saying, what are you talking about, young man? I'm talking about what I'm seeing now is a reminiscence of things that has maybe become full circle. I see my black police officers, those who really believe in upholding justice, but yet they are terrified that when they take off this uniform and they're driving down the street themselves and they see the red and blue lights come on behind them, they are terrified. They are scared to death, and they are police officers. They are scared that they themselves may lose their life because they know the law. Some of them are silent because they know that if they speak out, that when they call for backup, that they themselves can be killed. This is not something where you can say can't happen or doesn't happen. We know there are plenty of incidents where black police officers have been shot by white police officers, even after they have told them that they were police officers. Tend to turn a blind eye, like if this is something that doesn't happen. You see, as a person who actually ran for political office, I hear people saying don't vote because your vote don't count. In some cases, I can kind of believe that. I'm just going to be honest with you. However, on a local level, when you're talking about voting for your city councilmen or aldermen of your governors and mayors and your congressmen and senators, that's something different. Let me tell you why. I just want to bring this full circle. You see, if your vote really didn't count, why do they try to depress or to take that vote away? If your vote did not count, I just need for you to think a little bit. If your vote did not count, why do they continues to try to prevent you, black people, from voting? I'm just saying, if your vote didn't count. If your vote didn't count, why do they make laws to prevent you from actually going to the polls and vote? Why do they try to make it so difficult for you to vote if it didn't count, if it didn't matter? So I sit back and I watch the revolution. And I find that in various revolutions, there are Masons who participate or who participated. And whether it was through the Underground Railroad, or whether it was marching in the 60s, or whether it was building up homes and families in the 70s, they participated. They did not sit on the sidelines and debate each other over who was regular or irregular. They did not debate who was legit or wasn't legit when their head was getting banged in by police officers, or when their homes were getting bombed, or when 4 little girls was bombed in the church in Atlanta. They did not sit idly by and debate those things that we tend today to debate as legitimate Masons. There's a revolution taking place, and a lot of us are asleep. You see, it wasn't long ago. I just want you to take a snapshot of what's taking place right now, just from a Masonic point of view, just a brief snapshot. You see, although there were Masons in those days long ago in the 1800s, on both sides of the aisle, there were Masons who hunted runaway slaves, captured them and brought them back to the plantations for which they was running away from. And even today, we have change with the markings of a Mason on them that went around the neck of captured slaves. Those things we have actually are tangible, where you can see. See, if you know anything in regards to Freemasonry, greetings, brothers, greetings, everyone who's coming on. If you know anything about Freemasonry, you know that they participated in the Underground Railroad. You know they participated in a lot of different aspects of the political agenda on both sides. Yes, be it the Yankees or be it the Southerns, they participated on both sides. In your obligation as a 33rd, in your obligation as a 33rd, in your obligation as a sublime prince, your cause, your cause, you're fighting for justice, you're fighting for equality, you're fighting against superstitiousness and ignorance. That is your call as a sublime prince of the 32nd degree and a 33rd honorary degree of a Grand Inspector General. You are to wield your sword in the fight for justice. That is what your call these particular degrees. This is your call. However, I don't think a lot of us take our call seriously. I don't think a lot of us understand the plight of being a Mason because we haven't been taught that. So this is why you will find a lot of people saying you don't know a Freemasonry until you get into the appending degrees, because I will tell you this: the things that you think you know now as a Master Mason, because I hear people all the time talking about, oh, Master Mason is the highest level, you don't need to go any farther, Master Mason is it. I beg to differ, because being a Master Mason is the foundation for which the Masonic order stands on. However, when you proceed to go into the appending bodies, there's some additional stuff that is given to you or handed to you or that you learn, and you find out that everything you thought you knew tends to flip over, including your working tools. And then you begin to look at things differently, from a different perspective, because when you get into those degrees, they become more, they tug at you a little bit differently than that of the Master Mason degree. So as you progress in the appending houses, what you find is that you're fighting and you're striving for justice and equality, for the brotherhood of man, the fatherhood of God. You find in those degrees that there's a struggle between good and evil, that you find yourself fighting. The funny thing is that most of us do not go back and read the things we talk about or we say in these preceding degrees. And when you do go back and contemplate and look them up, you will find them to be a little bit differently than when you just go through them. I beg to differ that being a Freemason or being part of the appending bodies, you are caused to fight for justice and equality. There's that revolutionary spirit that's supposed to be in you. But some of us are afraid to speak out for righteousness. Some of us are afraid to speak out when you see injustice. So therefore, injustice continues because we turn a blind eye. There was a study done not long ago where the question was asked of various white individuals: would you change places with a black person who had more money or wealth than you? They found in this study that 90% of those who was asked that was white told them no. That's a true study. You can look this up for yourself. So as you continue this journey into Freemasonry, and inclusively the Order of the Eastern Star, your fight for equality, your fight for justice doesn't stop. It is a revolutionary mindset. Go back and just take a look at those Freemasons in history, and you will find that they was very, very, very revolutionary. Be it the president of Mexico, a black man, one of the first presidents of Mexico, a black man. Go look him up. He was a Freemason. He fought in the revolution for Mexico. He gave his life for that country. Even if you look at those who fought in the Civil War, African Americans, you will find that quite a few of them was Masons, black Masons, who seen a vision, who was brought to this country to be treated less than and like dogs and herds and cows, but yet they found themselves fighting for freedom, knowing that nothing is free. And freedom isn't worth fighting for unless it is worth dying for. When your mindset changes, when the turn it off. When the universe touches you and your eyes are open to what you're actually seeing, you can't close your eyes. No, you can't go back to sleep. Now the key word is stay woke. Oh, you're woke. A lot of us has always been woke. That's why we cloak ourselves. You see, African Americans, black people, know how to cloak themselves. You may be saying, what are you talking about, brother? What are you talking about? Yeah, we cloak ourselves because we know that there's some things that are around us and we have to be able to navigate this matrix. So you have to cloak yourself. And I'll leave that where it's at because if you are African American, you know exactly what I'm saying. He did that speech just to talk about regularity. No, I did not do the speech just to talk about that. I did the speech to talk about a revolution that is taking place and some of us are too damn blind to see it. I did this to show you that not long ago that most of us were still walking through the back door and not the front door. I did that to show you that if your auntie was born in the 40s and you're only looking at 100 years different from your ass being in slavery. 1840 to 1940 is only 100 years and we still got aunts and nephews and cousins who was born not only in the 40s but the 30s. 1830 to 1930 is only 100 years and you still have people who are reminiscent of those things that caused them harm and hurt. We have not yet healed as a people because we still have uncles and aunts that can see their cousins being hung on trees. So yeah, this is why I'm doing this. It's a reminder of how far and how far we've come and how far we have to go. We have not yet arrived. Some of you riding around in nice cars think that it's cool. You know, you can go buy yourself a nice car. And that's great. I have nice cars. Some of you think because you're the only one in the neighborhood that it's great. It isn't great that you're the only one in the neighborhood. You know what I'm talking about. See, some of you who are young, not all, but some, think that you have arrived because you have a great job. You have a great job. But there are so many of us that are left behind that are hurting. There are so many of us that are caught up in a ghetto mentality and you can't come out of it. Just because you made it out of the so-called ghettos of America, just because you made it out of the hoods of America, and there are so many of us who are great-minded that are left behind because of their circumstances. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about revolution. And JC, if you ever want to come on this channel and really have a conversation, not a debate, debates are dead. I'm talking about a real conversation about the attributes of a Mason, about those things that are supposed to bring us together, not push us apart. We can have that conversation. See, speaking on what you just said, JC, I look at you as one who's, I don't know your age or whatever, that you have not yet arrived, that somehow you think everything is about regularity and all of that stuff. No, today's conversation is about a revolution. Today's conversation about being more responsive and alert to the things that are taking place around you. Today's conversation is about, even though there is black on black crime, there is white on white crime, there is Japanese on Japanese, Filipino on Filipino, Mexican on Mexican crime, but there's only one spotlight that is ever shined, and it is shined on the black man and black woman. There's only one spotlight that is ever shined, and it is shined upon the black community. The heartbeat of America is the black community. And you may be saying, well, how do you figure that? Well, I'll tell you what. Without us, nothing moves in this country. Justice doesn't move unless we move. Don't nobody else march and protest and calls for equal rights for everybody but the black man and black woman. Everybody else joins in. Everybody else benefit from the struggle that we put forth and the things that we do. Everyone who comes to this country as immigrants benefit from it but us. That's a fact, you know? Look around if you're in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, in the country areas, or even in your cities. Look around. You know it could be better. But why isn't it better? Why isn't it that when you have 80% of a black population and the cities are still run down? See, a lot of you talk about politics, but it's the governor of those states who releases the monies to the cities and towns. When the federal government issues monies and grants to your state, that money is funneled down through the governor's office. He knows where the money is going, what communities are going to be receiving the monies based upon their taxing and schools. And why you wondering why your schools are so run down? Come on now, talk back to me. You know? Hello, John, in the chat. What you are saying is 100% correct. I appreciate that. You know? So this is where you as a Mason, one who's supposed to be enlightened, one who's supposed to have seen the all-seeing eye, one who's been raised from a dead level to a living perpendicular. This is where you come into play. But your heart pumps Kool-Aid, so you don't stand up for the injustice. You'd rather turn your head and say, I don't see it. That's what you do. That's what a lot of us do. You know, when we see a police beating up on someone that looks like you, you'll drive on by. I don't see nothing. Instead of getting out, maybe even if you just take your camera out and film it, maybe something can happen. You know, were they Prince Hall slave catchers? I don't know, bro. Whether they were or not, my concern is that we who are African Americans, we who are black, are going to have to realize that there's a revolution taking place and things are happening, and we are so not engaged until it's scary. You know, I've talked to my son, I've talked to my daughters about knowing who they are and being engaged in their kids' education and being partakers of those things that come upon them. So this is what I do as a grandfather, as a dad, as one who's involved in this community. Stay alert, stay awake or woke. See, they keep talking about this woke society. A lot of black people have always been awoke. They've just taken it and flipped it like if it's something bad. No, being awoke and having an understanding of what's taking place in your community is not something that is bad. It is something that you should understand. So when they move into your community and start buying up your mama's house and your grandmama's house because you let it run down, because you didn't pay the taxes on it, when they start bringing in these various restaurants that you can't afford to go to, when the taxes in the community gets high and you can't afford to pay it, they come in and take it over and then you mad. You see, we know that history has shown us that they have flooded our towns, that they have buried our towns, that they have come and ran us out of our towns. History has clearly said that. But some of you refuse to even acknowledge the fact that this has taken place to your ancestors. A revolution is taking place. This is what's happening. You refuse to acknowledge it. So you turn your head. I got my money, man. Shit, I got mine. This is why it's hard for those who come out of the ghettos and the slums of America. You really can't go back, because if you go back, they're gonna kill you because they want what you got. But I'm not saying you can't bring somebody out of it. I'm not saying that at all. Fraternal gentlemen, greatly appreciated. Thank you. I'm not saying you can't come out of it. All I'm saying is that when you have made it out of them slums and them ghettos, don't forget to bring somebody with you, like Harriman Tubman. And then even if Leave them there if they don't want to come. You know, they belong to the streets. Leave them there. That's including your family. You tell them, look, man, we got to get out of here. I'm going to build a house on someplace else. Or I'm moving someplace else. And they say, nah, I like it here. Let them be there. Let them stay there. This is why it's important when you come up, when you get a little money in your pocket and you begin to change. You know, people say, money changed you. No, money didn't change me. You changed, bro. Do you think I want to live and grow up in the ghettos and the slums of America all my life? Talk that hood talk all my life? Do you think I likes that? No. This is a survival tactic for a lot of us. We talk like we talk to survive. We do what we do to survive. But once you have come up, once you have gotten your bag, get the fuck out. And those who want to come, come. For those who want to stay, leave them there. They belong to the streets. Everybody don't want to come out of the ghettos and the slums. A lot of people like that. But for those who can get out, I don't care how you get out, how you made it out. But once you get out, it's okay to bring somebody with you. And if they want to go back, let them go. They were never meant to see something different anyway. This is why most people who live in nice cities, in nice areas, and tend to be in them areas because that's a great place to be. This is why most people who grow up in the slums and the ghettos don't ever go out. They don't come out of the slums and the ghettos. You don't. You know, I live in San Diego. And San Diego has some of the most beautiful beaches and places you can go, you know. And to travel the coast of California is amazing, man. And for those who live in what we call the hood in San Diego, never leave. They never go downtown San Diego and see what's happening and how your tax dollars are being spent. They never go to La Jolla Coves and look at the beautiful beaches. They never go to places and see the yachts, and they never go to Shelter Island. They never go to Coronado Island. These are places you can drive to, you know, and see for yourself. They don't do that because they like the hood life. They like the ghetto mentality, you know. And if you like it, stay there. But if you don't, rise up. Rise up. There's a revolution taking place. It's taking place right here in your mind. So look, I'm gonna go. I hope, as always, that you were able to grab a little something out of this and leave the small stuff alone. Small people think small-minded. They never want to leave. Where we gonna go, master? Where we gonna go? You gonna get the hell off the plantation. That's where you gonna go. You see, it ain't that long ago. It is not that long ago, guys. It's not that long ago. If you still have family members that was born in the 30s, they're only 100 years out of slavery. Less than that. 1830 to 1930. Still, shit, what does that look like? That's not long. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna show you something. When integration really started to take place in the 70s, I have kids that was born in the 80s. There are still black-only schools, okay? And they're in the slums. You know why they're in the slums? Ask the question. Go and deal with these politicians and stop sitting idly by like, oh, ain't nothing gonna ever change. Nothing changes because you don't change. Nothing changes because you don't change. I'm out. Peace and be well. Peace and be well. Whatever you do, keep your light on, stay out the bushes. I'm not your study guide, but I am here to help you study. Be the light in darkness. Peace.